Right, so episode 2 of Welcome to Derry. Another great episode, a lot going on in this one. So I had to do some notes because, as I said, a lot happens in this show. And I'll try and remember everything, but sometimes don't. So I'm going to keep referring to my notes a little bit as we go along. You might know it's got a bit funny eyes going. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's like dark here. I haven't been punched, don't worry. Halloween last night and I had all the makeup and stuff on. It's just not going away. It's not washing off the way I want it to. So, the start of this episode of Welcome to Derry, it started off back in that movie theatre again, and we kind of got Lily's POV, point of view, of, I don't know what I told you what that meant, but Lily's point of view of everything that happened in the theatre. So you see the baby coming out of her, looking down, the kids getting like killed and that. I kind of had a thought that maybe one of them might have survived, like the older brother, but they don't mention it. But a clue to that later on comes up again, that he might not be dead, the older brother. So you had the brother, the sister, and then you had the Jewish boy, and I could not remember the name, like Stan's uncle or whatever, that got killed by the mutant baby with the wings in the cinema. And of course she gets out. Then she wakes up from the dream, we start the show, and we get a like opening title sequence, which I thought was brilliant, this title sequence. Very sort of like that Dream of America, that sort of American dream drawings they used to do back in the 60s. And I thought that was phenomenal. But that title sequence showed you stuff that's going to happen in future seasons, because we all know that 3-season plan they've got going on. I did a video about it. If you want to watch it, I'll probably try and put the little picture up there somewhere in the video. So there's a 3-season plan for this show, which is over 3 different times Pennywise has turned up, like 1908 and 1935 and then 60, whatever it is, 62. So we got that, and they show you clips of those stories. So you see the gang sort of like slaughter of the gang, and you also see the explosion in the factory. So you see all that in the ironwork. So you see that in the clips on this little like animation they do at this sort of opening sequence of Welcome to Derry. I thought that was brilliant, and I love the animation because there's like bits where you see like families or like, but there's one kid in the family will be looking at something horrific, and then you see a classroom where they're doing duck and cover, and one kid is looking at the projector in a like scared way. You see like the sort of Pennywise hand sort of there. That I thought was brilliant. This is just the opening sequence animation, which I thought was phenomenal. So we got that, and then we generally have like 2 stories going on kind of at the same time. We've got the military side of it, and then we've got the kids side of it. So the military side is all to do with what's his name, the Hanlon family, and you kind of get to meet more of them now. So you get to meet his wife, Major Hanlon and his wife, and then we meet his son Will, who turned out to be Mike Hanlon's dad, I'm guessing. So we see them, and they are a nice family. This nice black family moving to this thing, and the first sort of thing we notice when they're moving is they're kind of like looking to see if there's any sort of tension, like racial tension, and it doesn't seem to be in Derry. There seems to be none of that at the minute. Obviously, we know that Major Hanlon had trouble on the base with that thing. We'll get to that again in a minute as well. So it's starting to go now, and we're starting to see more as it sort of ramps up a little bit. So we've got them in the town. Then we got so let's do the military story first. So obviously, Major Hanlon isn't convinced about what happened with him getting beat up in the previous episode by those 3 guys that broke into the room with gas masks and were asking him secrets about the military stuff. And he's not letting any of that out. He didn't let any of that out. So now he's sort of at home, he's thinking about it, and he's thinking about the gun that was pointed at him. And he knows that is a type of gun that sort of, I think it's like a Russian gun, which is really hard to sort of load and cock. And he's looking at that, he's thinking, that's a bit weird, how they had that. And the person, the military has obviously looked into it, and the person they're framing for, saying has done it, is the kind of racist guy we met in the first episode, who kind of didn't salute the Major when he walked in. So we sort of, they're framing him for it, saying he's sort of racial attack, he went to try and beat up the sort of the new black officer. So we get that going on, and he's not sure on this. It doesn't make sense to him that guy would know how to use that type of gun. It's really sort of an awkward one to do. So it was interesting seeing him sort of puzzling this together. So then what he does is he goes to see the guy in the prison, and he takes that gun with him, and he kind of winds him up and leaves the gun so he can get it. And when he goes to lock and do the gun, he can't work it, so he knows it wasn't him. So with this knowledge, he then goes to the sort of general of the thing and says, look, you've got an innocent man in prison. He didn't do it. I know he signed a confession, but he didn't do it. and he wants to let them know sort of who did do it. Like try and work out who did do it, and then the guy stops him, and then the general tells him what's happened. That the whole thing was a test, to sort of test his kind of loyalty and his secretness. Would he give stuff up? Also, they want to find out how brave this guy is, because this guy's gone through some stuff in the past in his military. The Major's gone through a lot of trauma, but he was just brave. He just dealt with it and got on. He's got this like inner strength of like just not being scared. And they need that for what's coming. So they kind of wanted to test him out. So by putting a gun to his face, would he give up the information? Would he be afraid? But the whole time he stayed cool, dealt with it and like thinking it. So then they sort of bring him in. And they take him to this, like the secret area, and explain to him that they think that the Russians are basically going to drop nuclear bombs in key parts of America. And that the only way to stop it is to find a better weapon to defeat them. And the weapon they're looking for will bring out your worst fears. It like sets up your worst fears. So I'm guessing it's this guy. That they're going to try. I think they want to try and weaponize Pennywise. Now they did mention that there's 4 different structures around where they think that the weapon is that brings on the fear. There's 4 structures. It's somewhere, and there's kind of like act like beacons, and there's somewhere between those. They're trying to find these structures. And that's where we get to near the end of the episode now. So I'm not going to go back. So we're now going to go back to the kids' side of things. Actually, no, we might go somewhere else. There is a third part of this story. The Dick Hoorang story. So we meet Dick Hoorang. No, actually get to have conversations with him. He's another black officer who's kind of getting special treatment within the military. He's like he's riding around with sort of the generals. He's with them a lot. And you find out kind of as the episode goes on that he's basically the guy from The Shining. We kind of knew that going into this series anyway. He's the black guy from The Shining. If you've ever seen The Shining movie, the guy that helps Danny, who's got the power of the shine, and he can shine as well, the way Danny does. So he's basically psychic. And he can pick up on premonitions, he can see ghosts, he can sense things. And they're using him for his skills, his shine skills, his psychic skills, to find these locations to where weird stuff is. That's what he's doing. He's basically trying to find it for them, using his psychic powers. That's why they give him preferential treatment, because they know how valuable he is. So they're using him to find this stuff. And by the end of the episode, he's kind of found it. But we'll get into that in a minute. So now we go back to the kids. So we've got Lily, who's obviously traumatised by what she saw in the theatre. But she's also got this fear about going back to the asylum. Because if she starts telling people there was a giant mutant baby in the theatre, it killed everyone, then it seems to have disappeared, she knows she's going straight back in there. But the police are trying to pin the movie theatre massacre, if you want to call it that, on the projectionist, who's Veronica's dad, who obviously Veronica was in the theatre at the same time. And Veronica and Lydia are talking about something. She's saying, look, I said your dad wasn't there. I said your dad didn't do it, but I didn't tell them the truth because then they'd chuck me in the nut house. And I don't want to go there. I don't want to go to the asylum again, because obviously she had a horrible time in that asylum, because she went there after the death of her father in the accident in the factory where he got like chopped up in the pickling jar machine. So she doesn't want to go back there. So she's massively sort of like, she's basically worded it so that she says it wasn't Veronica's dad, but she doesn't know who did it. She doesn't know what else happened. So Veronica's like, well, you need to tell them the truth, because otherwise they're still trying to pin it on my dad. Which happens later, because the chief of police has been pressured by the council people, like the people in the town, the older people of the town, to just basically pin it on this projectionist guy, this black guy, to basically say it was him, because they need someone to say who it was, and it's got to be him. And the police chief saying, oh, well, I've got no evidence, and he's got an alibi. So they basically now take Lily away, and they put pressure on her, and basically say to her, they're going to send us back to the insane asylum, unless she kind of says that even though she didn't see the dad, Veronica's dad, the projectionist, there, he could have been there. So that way, it's like, if he could have been there, then it possibly him. So then they can arrest him, which is what they want to do. And that was really cruel what they did. I mean, you could see that girl was in tears. She ended up saying it. So then they do arrest the projectionist. They arrest the Veronica's dad. Veronica instantly knows that it's to do with Lily. Goes and she faces her down straight away. And as her screams at her in her house, and her mum's there, proper lays into her like, what have you done now? You've got my dad. You've done this. Why did you tell them? What did you say? You know what happened. And she goes off. And that's a great scene, because that girl, the girl that's playing Veronica is such a powerful actress. You can tell she's angry and sad. All those emotions are coming out. What a fantastic and phenomenal acting from that kid in that scene. I think that girl deserves some sort of award by the end of this, because that Veronica, she's this little side character, but she's really strong and she's really belting out those emotions for these scenes. So we get that. But before that happens, so let's get to Pennywise in this episode. Obviously, we don't see the clown version of Pennywise yet, because I know they're saving that till later. Bill Skarsgård is not coming till later. But we do see Pennywise doing his illusions and his magic tricks. And to me, I do still feel like what we're seeing from Pennywise in this one is a lot more Nightmare on Elm Street dream sequence-ish. Does that make sense? So, for instance, the Veronica attack, the attack Pennywise does on Veronica is disgusting and hideous. So Veronica is in the bed at night, her dad and her nan are arguing and talking about him going to prison and such and that. And Veronica is wrapped up in the duvet, puts the duvet over her so she's going here. And then she hears voices and she starts trying to get out the duvet, and suddenly the duvet won't stop, it just keeps going and she can't pull it down. Then it's like the duvet starts to turn into veins and skin, and she's touching it, it's disgusting. And you see moisture and goo coming off of it. Next thing you know, she fills with water. Like she's inside of the womb. And that's the first thing. So is she in the womb? Next thing you know, she's sort of trying to get out, and she rips through it and comes out. And it's like she's just come out of the stomach of a pregnant woman. It's just proper disgusting. That's kind of the second time we've kind of seen this in this show. First episode, the woman giving birth in the kind of demon baby comes out. Now she's come out of this womb. She rips out, and she looks back, and the pillow part of her bed suddenly becomes her mum's face. And it's here where we learn that her mum died during childbirth, giving birth to her. So she's got a lot of this guilt probably in her because of that. And this mum's sort of oh, you killed me because you ripped out of me, and you're going to kill the kids, and now you're going to kill your dad and all this sort of stuff. And she's freaking out. Then this is disgusting. So the hole where she ripped out from the stomach of this thing, so I'm guessing she was cesarean birth to get out of her mum. That's what killed her mum. It's become like teeth, and it's munching like that. And when Veronica looks down, there's an umbilical cord attached to her and in the mouth of this thing, and it's slowly sort of munching and dragging the umbilical cord in as it munches. And it's disgusting. It's really disgusting. She's covered in gunk as well. She's been dragged in, and then what she does to get out of it, again disgusting, is the umbilical cord. She bites through the umbilical cord to break away, and then she breaks away from it, and she starts screaming. And then the mum's still getting then the mum comes up this big figure and sort of lures over her. But we did see we didn't see Pennywise, but in the mouth of the monster thing, there was two little eyeballs staring back, and they were orange eyeballs, they were Pennywise eyeballs staring back. I thought that was great. But yeah, so she sort of screams, her dad comes in the room, and this is where it felt more like Freddy Krueger, she woke up from a nightmare. And it did feel very Nightmare on Elm Street vibe, instead of being the Pennywise vibe, because it just appears as his lure. This is what he's creating dream sequences around them now. So that was a weird one. So then she gets away from that. Then then later on her dad gets arrested, and then she kicks off. But we get another Pennywise attack. But before I go into that second Pennywise attack, I think that one's a lot worse. We've got a new friendship. We've got Will, who is the son of Major Hanlon, is now at the school. He was obviously moving around being a military kid. He's moved around, but he's gone to that school. But he's also a bit of a boy genius. He's a bit of a Sheldon Cooper. So he's reading these science books that are well above what he is, and he knows a lot about it. He loves science. He's got a passion for it, which is great. His dad's a little bit thingy with him because of it. Doesn't know how to connect with him because his dad's a military guy, used to baseball and stuff like that, where the kid's just into books and science and stuff. So dad's kind of by him. But they can bond over things like navigation systems and space and that, which is quite interesting because being a pilot, he knows about that. So they can bond over that. I thought it was quite a nice little moment, a little bonding moment. So he then meets another new character we sort of seen, which is Rich, who is the funny one. He's going to be the funny one. And they kind of had a little bond, it's a little nice moment between the two of them. Then a stink bomb gets thrown, and we get Will going into sort of detention for that and getting in trouble for it, which is interesting. And so we've got a new little friendship. Another interesting note from this episode as well was when Hanlon's wife is walking around the town going shopping to the butcher's for some meat. The butcher's called Kirsch, right? And I swear Kirsch was the house with the crazy woman in It Chapter 2, when Bev goes back, thinks it's Marsh. She goes to go into the house and the crazy woman, she's like, she goes running at her. And that's where they had the photos of Pennywise from the past on the wall in that Kirsch house as well. So that was interesting. I remembered that when I saw that. That sort of triggered a memory in my head. However, when she's doing that, when she goes to the butcher to get her meat, some kid starts getting the crap kicked out of him by some older boys. And she turns around and sees is no one going to stop it. Everyone's just walking past ignoring it. Because the whole point is that Pennywise has kind of infected the town, where people don't notice things like they would notice them everywhere else. And because Major Hanlon's wife is new to the town, she hasn't been infected like that, so she's still noticing stuff. So when she sees this kid getting beat up, she runs out to try and stop it, and no one else in the town seems to care. They will look at her as if she's the weird one for trying to stop this young lad getting the crap kicked out of him. And that was a good moment as well, to show you that it's not just Pennywise, it's the whole town. The whole town of Derry, there's something wrong with it, the way people are, their attitudes. You've seen it in the previous It films, like when Bowers had... I cannot remember his name. The bigger kid, and he's got to cut his name into his stomach on the bridge in the first movie, and the car drives past, and they look at him, and they just keep driving. And you see a balloon in the back of the car, but the way that the family look at him and just keep going, and you're like, whoa, sort of thing. So the town itself is wrong in many ways. So the next thing we get the attack on Lily. So Lily's obviously down because she's upset her friend. She goes shopping for her mum. And she's in the supermarket, she's got the tray, she's walking through the aisles, and we get some majorly good, creepy stuff in this. So she's walking through the supermarket aisles, and she's doing a bit of shopping, and as she walks in, you sort of notice that people are looking at her. And obviously she's got a bit of a reputation for being a little bit crazy because she was in the nut asylum. But she's walking around the trolley, and suddenly she walks past this woman who just sort of looks at her and then goes like that, but behind her, so she doesn't see it. And it's that proper like quick like, right, and you think, oh, he's Pennywise, we know he's coming. And she's walking through the aisles, but the aisles are kind of like moving behind, almost like a labyrinth. This is what I mean, this is more Kruger-esque, because the environment's changed around. So she's walking through the aisles, it's like the walls are moving behind her and changing, and she keeps going through, almost like she's going through a labyrinth or a maze or something. But everything's changing, so it's harder for her to get through. But you see more creepy people. So I said you saw the woman, and then there's this guy who keeps like going from here, and he suddenly just goes, then disappears again. He just peeps around the corner like that, but it's all done behind her, so she can't see it happening. But you just get his face like, and then you see him like, then there's a scene where she's walking the car, and he's literally right behind. He's like there, and he's like behind her, and you see this funny little walk down the aisle behind her. But every time she turns around, he's not there, and we see other people sort of staring at her. And then it kind of leads her down this aisle when she gets to like a stop where she ends up in like a dead end. And there's like a shelf stack of cereal, and it's Kellogg's cereal. Only when you look closer, it doesn't say Kellogg's cereal, it says Pennywise cereal, which I thought that was neat. And the characters on the covers aren't like your chicken like you normally get on the Kellogg's cornflakes or your monkey on your Cocoa Pops. It's the kids that have died in the theatre. And you've got the two boys on one and the young girl on the other one, and then the kid that died at the beginning of the episode, her friend that died in the very start of the first episode. So you see them on there, and then you see their faces on the packaging starts to decay, and you're like, oh, but the only one that didn't decay was the older brother. So you got the brother and the sister that died in the theatre. The older brother's face didn't decay, and I said, I don't know if he's dead, because I'll soon get hit and go down. But you don't see like blood or him get ripped apart or anything like that. You see him get hit and go down. So I still think he might not be dead, that guy. Because I said, you see the friend's face decay, the sister's face decays and all that. The only face that doesn't decay is his one. So does that mean he's not dead? And that's what got my brain going to it thingy. Anyway, so we get that happen. Then, this is where it's really good now. So then she goes to run and turns another roll, and suddenly she's surrounded by pickles. And we all know the situation with her and pickles, because obviously her dad died in the pickle factory. And she sees this jar of pickles, and I've got a jar, it's somewhere else. I'm in the kitchen at the minute. If I can get to it without causing too much stress. Yeah, there you go. Oh, look at that, look, props. So she's got the jar of pickles, And this suddenly you see like it turns and there's a face in the pickles. It's a dad's face. And he's all sort of sliced up into bits, but like it's come together and it's the face. And he's like, give your daddy a kiss. And this again, very Krugerish, the whole give me a kiss thing. And then I was wondering, was the dad not such a nice dad, if you know what I mean? Are we getting another Beverly Marsh situation here with this dad, like he died, but was maybe the reason she's a bit is because of what he'd done to her before that happened. So that got me thinking about it, because the way it was like this pickle creature was lurching over it. It was her dad. So then she grabs the jar, smashes it on the floor, and all the bits of face sort of fall apart. And next thing you know, she looks at all the other ones. There's some like hands coming through the pickle jars and that, and they all smash to the floor. And then they form this like octopus creature with like the dad's face, but in bits and that. It's sort of like sliding towards her, and then like a tentacle comes out of a jar on the side and like hooks her in the mouth and wraps around the neck. Again, very Krugery. And that's what I'm saying. It's like they've merged the Kruger way of killing into Pennywise. Normally Pennywise is just a character. He's not a whole scene. But he's normally like a character or something in there, or I might see eggs somewhere or that. But it's never like the whole like a dream. But this is more like a dream. So she's then like freaking out, and then she wakes up, and the guy that runs the shop is like, "What are you doing?" like that, and he's there like she comes back in sort of the real world almost, and she looks down and there's a broken pickle jar on the floor with the one that she smashed, and she's screaming. Next thing you see with her is she's getting sent to the mental asylum again. So even though she did the deal with the police to like not go there, she ended up going there anyway because of her outburst in the shop, and her mum sent her there, and her mum's very cold to her as well. So this is why I do still think there's something was happening with that family and that dad, I don't know, but the mum's very cold to her as well. So then we get that. So then we go back now to the military thing, to the end of the episode. So while the colonel is talking to the Major Hanlon about like the situation, about them looking for this fear thing that brings on fear and they can use it as a weapon and they want to find it, they get a call that they've found something at the dig site. And this is the dig site that Dick Hooran had found with his psychic powers, that they should look there. And they go, they're all looking, they've got the binoculars, it's raining, there's like mud on the floor, and they bring out this sort of old time gangster mobile. You know, as I say, because those cars remind me of, remember, is it Wacky Races? And you had the gangsters, and they had the gangster mobile. It's kind of like one of those type of cars. And when it comes up, the doors open. There's like just dead bodies in it. But I think they're gangster dead bodies. They've got like the old-fashioned Tommy guns, and the guns at the big round bit at the bottom with the bullets in. My Tommy gun. I just think of that from like The Mask or something. My Tommy gun. Like that. So it's that gun that's like you see it on the guy. So then I'm thinking, obviously, this is obviously people that died during that gang war, which will happen in 1935 when we see the next series, when they start the next series of season 2 of Pennywise. And I can't remember the name of the gang. Oh, it's gone out of my head. Brady gang? Something like that, anyway. So it's that massacre which Pennywise involved in. And I was like, oh, is that them? So are they some... That's what they've dug up. So at some point, did the town bury them to keep it hidden? The massacre that happened in the town. So that was really interesting. That was the end of the episode where you see this thing come up. And I was just like, whoa, another good one. Because this episode, this series is great. I mean, I was kind of looking forward to this series, because I love the It movies. And I've read the book. I love the book. And I like that they're going into the lore of the book more. It's the stories from the book. Because it is essentially about the kids and the Pennywise and all that stuff. But you also get snippets of like chapters where they talk about previous things that happened in Derry. And I was fascinated by that. And this is what I wanted this to be. And they're actually doing kind of what I wanted it to be, just longer versions of it. So I'm really looking forward to see more like the Brady things, the Ironworks explosion. I'm looking to see that. And I think they're going to be teasing bits of that throughout this show as well. So then when you get to that, you go, oh, that's how that car ended up in that mud. That's how it got buried. And I think we're going to see more stuff. I think I might then find bits of the Ironworks and things like that. So we can slowly piece all this together, which is great, which will lead to the origin. Also, one thing as well, it made me chuckle, because I had this moment in my brain. When they're looking at the dig site earlier on, you suddenly see these like Native American Indians, but modern time Native American Indians, looking down. They've got motorbikes looking down at the dig site in curiosity, and just like watching it. And all I thought was, it's the werewolves from Twilight. I don't know why. It just reminded me of that, like when they're watching the vampires, like when the werewolves are like, yeah, we don't trust you, we're going to watch you, sort of thing. It was that. It was literally up on this hill, and I was like, oh my God, Jacob's turned up. But that was one funny thing. But I think there's going to be a big thing with this Indian reservation people, because also the woman that owns the antique shop, she was very interested in Hanlon's wife when she went in there to look around. And it's just the way she looked at it was funny. She looked like Native American Indian as well. So I was like, there's obviously going to be something here with that as well. Again, as I said, phenomenal episode. I'm really enjoying it. I love that it's, even though it's kind of a prequel, so we kind of know what's coming, it's still a mystery and we're learning more as this goes on. Genius work. I definitely can't wait for the next one. Again, I thought I'd miss him. Like, I'd be like, oh, where is he? Where is he? And a lot of people online are like, kind of saying things like he should be in it more. I'm kind of glad he's not. I like that we're seeing this other stuff. I like they're going to save him as like, I think he's going to be in the climax, to be honest. I think he'll be in the last episode. But I like that we're saving it. We just tease it. We saw the eyes in the stomach womb thing. We saw just the eyes. And one thing else I noticed as well, I don't know if you guys noticed it as well. Let me know if you did in the comments and that, because this one shocked me. When Rich and Will are talking in the corridor, you get the patty cake girls walk down. And the one that's Lily's old friend with the glasses, as she's walking, there's a reflection of light, of orange light that kind of hits her glasses, and it hits right basically her eyes. And she looks down at Rich as she's walking, and she just it goes slow motion. And for a second there, that light is perfectly in her eyes, the orange light. And I was like, is she hinting that she's something to do with Pennywise, or at some point she's going to be, or is that like a little clue that that's how Richie's going to get got? Because he obviously has a crush on her. What was her name? I wrote her name down. I haven't used any of my notes at the minute. What was her name? Marge. That's it, Marge. Glasses girl, Marge. And for a second, like, she had those, and it looked like she had orange eyes, but it's sort of a reflection. Because then as she keeps going, obviously, like, I don't think you do it in my glass. See how the reflection moves like that? It was like the reflection got to there, a little bit there, and it was bright orange. And I was like, oh, it was in both eyes as well. And then you see the sort of reflection just go that way and disappear. It's like a square window reflection. But it was just weird how it did then. And the fact that Richard obviously likes her to the point where he stops and stares at her as she walks past, that's where I was like, oh. I'm also getting major Mean Girls vibe from that little bit of storyline as well. Like, proper, like, they've taken that from Mean Girls. But who knows? Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought of this episode. Did you spot some of the things I spotted? Did you spot more? There was a blackboard during one of the scenes that had like stuff written on it. I was looking at that, see if there's any clues in there. We saw like kids graffiti and stuff. We saw what's always on kids graffiti on that back thing there. Some nasty words and things written. But I didn't really see much more. I saw like the turtle and what was happening with the turtle, and that was obviously kids graffiti. But I thought at some point a teacher would have rubbed that off surely. But oh well. But yeah, let me know if you spotted anything else I didn't spot. I said we saw that the coppers, the chief copper is Bowers, which means his son then became a copper, and then the grandson became Henry Bowers, who definitely wasn't a copper. So we see a lot of that in this as well, like the relationships to different people in the future of it. So brilliant stuff. But yeah, let me know if you saw anything like that, any little, what they call it, Easter eggs that you saw, literal Easter eggs that you saw in this this thing, and let me know what you think as well. And I'm going to be doing these every time. The only reason I would have done this one last night, but it was Halloween last night, trick or treat and all that stuff with the kids, so that's why I've waited till today to do this video. Normally I'm going to do them straight after I watch them in the morning, but so you have to wait a little bit for this one. But I will be doing episode by episode discussions afterwards, reviews if you want to call it that, afterwards, and we'll talk about what happens in it. And again, I like your feedback, so please put stuff in messages and let me know what you think as we go ahead. Cheers guys, bye.